we did a festival in Jamaica. So there was a bar that was open till 3 in the morning right on the beach. And then I went down and walked down the beach myself in the dark in the middle of the night in Jamaica, which, of course, is not a great idea. And, of course, sure enough, I walk about 50 yards down the beach, and somebody comes out of the shadows from the back of the beach and wants to sell me cocaine. And then, no, thank you very much. And I have to, put them off. And then another guy wants to sell me methadone, and another guy wants to sell me girls. And then finally, I get about another. I could almost see off in the distance the bar, and another fellow comes down out of the trees, and he hands me this big joint, big spliff, this big, and he says, "Of this I make you a gift," and he puts it in my hand, and I'm like, I really don't want this, and he's like, "No, man, it's good, you can have it." And so I'm walking along for a little while, and he's keeping pace with me, and I finally said, I just, I don't really want this. And he said, "Well, I only want 10J for it, Jamaican dollars." And I said, "Well, now I really don't want it." And I said, and he's like, "Okay, fine." And he let me have it. And we're walking, and he's pacing, keeping pace with me again. And then finally said, How about 5J? And I was like, "Look, man, I just want to give this back to you because I don't want it. I don't really need it. And no, okay, you can have it. It's your gift." And then he fell behind me about 20, 30 paces, and I heard him in the darkness behind me walking, and he followed me all the way to the bar. And I sat down at the bar and ordered the drink, and he stood at the waterline and stared me down while I was drinking. And I kept looking over at him, and eventually a friend, some other acquaintance of his showed up, and they were pointing at me, and they're talking, and then they move off back in the direction from where I came from. So they call last call, and we all finish our drinks, and we walk off down the beach into the darkness back to where we have to go. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this little dog runs out in front of us. And the dog is running in front of us about 20 feet or so, and the dog would stop and turn around and go, "Bark, bark, bark," and look at us, and then roll on. He would keep doing that every 50 yards or so. He'd stop and look back at us, make sure we were cool. Eventually, somebody came out of the shadows to try and, sell us something or other, and the dog barked him back. And this happened 5 or 6 times. Anytime somebody came out of the shadows, the dog would come and bark the guy back into the shadows. And the dog cleared our way all the way back down to where we were staying at a place that was off of the beach, and we had to go across the highway to get to it. And it was a pathway. And somehow the dog got to the pathway and made a right and went up the pathway. And we followed up the pathway, and there's a dog in front of us. The dog crosses the street before us. We go over the other side of the street. The dog is already walking up to our hotel, and he gets to our hotel and stops. And when we get to where we go to the hotel, he kind of gives us this look and walks off. And he was our guardian angel dog. He just led us all the way there. So we were playing in San Francisco, and we were playing the Independent. And someone mentioned, "Hey, Phil Lesh is here," and his publicist came in to one of the dressing rooms. I was getting in there. I was putting my shirt on, and he was like, "Is this dressing room clear?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's just me in here." And the next thing you know, he whisks Phil Lesh in, and this was in between the first and second set. And he comes in and he shakes my hand. And I go, "Well, we were playing," and blah blah blah. And so it was just all of a sudden, Phil Lesh was in the building, and it was kind of the whole level of the energy kind of went up for the next set, and it was really kind of cool. The next day, we're leaving to go, and I'm actually going to. We're staying at the La Quinta at the airport, and I'm going into the Denny's in front of the La Quinta where they always seem to be, and I get a phone call on my cell phone from our manager Brian, and Brian says, "I don't want to, freak you out or anything, but and I'm not sure this is actually going to happen, but there is a possibility that in the near, like in the next minute or two or half hour, Phil Lesh is going to call you. I don't know what he wants to say to you, but his personal manager Kathy called to get your cell phone number." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And so I hung up from him, and sure enough, 2 minutes later, my phone rings and it says unknown. I'm like, well, that can only be one person. So I answer it, and then, "Hey, Tim, it's Phil Lesh." And he asked, He's calling to wonder if I would want to come out and play a few shows with Phil and friends and be a friend of Phil, I guess. And so, yeah. So I did that, and he asked John Skeen to come out, and we flew out, and we did these shows at the Warfield, and it was really, really an amazing experience. And we did 3 shows, and to see how that whole inner workings worked, and the rehearsals were, fantastic. And Phil was one of the better band leaders I'd ever been associated with, because he seemed to know exactly what he wanted to do, and he just went ahead and did it. And he made it seem as if, well, of course that's the way it's should be done. It was pretty clear that was just the way that he approached it. He was just very, very professional, but very easygoing, and it was very very laid back and super cool. And the following year, during Mardi Gras, he actually had the whole band out to the Bill Graham Convention Center, and we wound up having trading songs between Railroad Earth and Phil and Friends, and we would do some Grateful Dead tunes, and all both bands together, and we would do some Railroad Earth songs, and we traded back and forth, and it was just it's one of those great experiences that you'll never forget. We had this big red van that we kind of amazing that we drove it around the country. How many times we did, it was just crazy because it was kind of a junker. But we were making it back from Vermont, and we got caught in some black ice, and Andy was trying to get off the road, and as he's moving off, and slowly moving off, and I did not see anything or hear anything. The next thing I know, it was like the world ended. There was a deafening explosion, and the side windows and the back windows of the van all exploded in. I was covered with glass, and we were being driven off the road, and the truck that had hit us, its headlight was right in the side window where I was sitting. And the van came to a stop in the ditch. Everyone wound up being fine. I went over to where the trailer was jettisoned off the back of the van right away. And I went over to where the van was, and now all of a sudden there was like 50 Railroad Earth stickers frozen into the Adirondack Northway. What this leads to is at that point we had no transportation, and we've been blessed to have people in our lives that come to the rescue and our guardian angels. We had the dog, of course, in Jamaica, but we had a very, very important guardian angel, and her name was Gail Kaufman, and she handled in the early part of the band, the first 7+ years of the band, she handled all our grassroots promotions. But she devised this raffle to give away a guitar, and the fans came to our rescue, and we raffled off this guitar, this signed guitar, and she came up with enough money for us to buy a new van that we put 350,000 miles on that one, and we actually still own that van. But it's people like Gail Kaufman, and as a matter of fact, our whole crew right now is made up of people that are completely dedicated to the band, and they're here because they want to. They see the value of what we're doing, and they want to be a part of it, and they want to help make it keep going and be as successful as possible. And the fans, right at the top of the list, make the whole thing really run, because we have people that they budget their vacation time to come out and follow a certain run of the band, come and see 4 or 5 shows in a row, and they're just the sweetest people, and I get nothing but the most amazing positive feedback. Most of the times at the end of the show, I'll go out and visit the merch table and just shake hands and talk to people, and it's just it's one of the things that I look forward to. The most thing I look forward to in my life is to play music, and I'm in a great band doing that. But then interacting with these people you could feel that the music actually has an effect on them in a positive way, and it's just really beautiful.